This week, on Monday, on Beware of Spoilers, we'll be talking about Season 2, Episode 1 of The Last of Us. And on 30-Minute Reviews, we'll be talking about Mission Impossible 2. On Tuesday, on the Backlog Files, we'll be talking about the new indie game Bookbound. On Wednesday, on Beware of Spoilers, we'll be talking about Daredevil Born Again, the Season 1 finale. On Thursday, also on Beware of Spoilers, we'll be talking about the new movie Sinners with Michael B. Jordan, directed by Ryan Coogler. And on Sunday, we'll be rounding out the week with Season 2, Episode 2 of the revival on Disney Plus of Doctor Who, also on Beware of Spoilers. As always, you can keep track of our schedule on mwpnews.com. Good morning and happy Tuesday, and welcome to the Backlog Files. I am Adam, and this will be the first of our newer series we're going to be doing, where we made this decision after we heard the price of the Switch 2. And I think I talked about this last week when I put out the episode about tariffs, where I talked about how the Switch 2 is kind of a little expensive. So I figured a better use of the show, since we can't cover the Switch 2, and I think that a lot of the newer releases we're still gonna cover some of those. Like, if it's on Game Pass, I'll try to, as long as I have the install space on my hard drive. Um, I will try to cover those. So, like, I think Tony Hawk is gonna be in that conversation. Let me just bring up my Game Pass real quick. Ooh, the Minecraft movie DLC. Let me not play that. So looking at the upcoming games, I mean, it'll depend on the size, but maybe Doom: The Dark Ages. Tony Hawk, if we can fit it on the hard drive, probably. But we'll see. Um, Either way, we will be talking mostly about indies and older games at this point. If you want to see a new Pokemon Emerald ROM hack that I've been playing, you can go on YouTube, youtube.com/@NWP News, the @ sign, and you can watch along there weekly as I get my ass kicked by this difficulty hack. It's Pokemon Elite Redux, so we'll be doing that there. Now, what we're here to talk about today, though, is a new indie game called Bookbound. Now, I have my notes for this. Definitely somewhere. Here we go. Bookbound, released by developer Bit66, came out March 6th of this year. It is an indie game where you get to run a bookstore. And I think there's a lot of, we talk about the Farming Simulator Direct from a few years ago. I think there's also kind of a rush on these job simulator games, running a business simulators, and I think that to an extent we could say Stardew Valley's behind that, but also there's been this rush of like hyper realistic ones where it's all the shit that you don't want to do in real life, you get to do it in a video game. And I'm like, what? Who is this for exactly? I don't understand why you would opt to run why you would want to run run a register in the game. Like, just let me hire someone in the game to run the register out of the game. It's the whole thing's choices, so to speak. We talk about choices a lot on Beware of Spoilers and the choices actors make. It's the same thing here. If you're a developer and you're making that choice, I mean, I'm sure you have your audience. I'm sure your audience loves that. I'm not one of those people. With this game, you get to run a bookshop. You get to know people in the area, and it's a cheap game. It's relatively new, and I think it's just released. It just had a big update with some like recurring NPCs that you can help them through their lives. Um, the game is good, and it has a fun gameplay loop. I will say that. I love the art style. I love the way you have to buy the books. The goal is to sell all the different types of books and or all the titles for each genre, um, and grow your bookstore and all of that. I think that there the game is not bug free. I did encounter a few bugs that caused me to restart. I did enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed playing that, and then going around talking to everyone's kind of fun. The mini game for getting people to come in is kind of cool. But there are a few things that I think could use some improvement. Number one, I think that um, these encounters that you have with these people. I think a branching dialogue tree would be better, so you have more autonomy in it, and it's not just you talking and having this conversation, you know, one on one with this person. It's you, actually, doing it, not just doing it. Like it feels like it's happening to you. Um, which again, early in the game. I think the other thing is too the environment feels a little small, um, compared to where it is. Like the invisible barriers are pretty close on the other side, and it's just this like strip with like four houses that you can only go into yours. There are four other houses, and I feel like there may be plans to introduce things into those other houses in the near future because you like there's like a space where you could put an entry and you can walk into. But that could be cool. Um, and maybe that's coming down the line. I don't know. But even that going down to the park, that's kind of small, the space. Um, the actual gameplay in selling is a little annoying at times. When you are selling books, occasionally someone will have a question mark over their head, and I think the issue with that is that when they have that question mark over their head, if they're you have to position yourself kind of just right for the A button to click. Maybe it is just a controller issue because I was playing with a gamepad, and maybe with a mouse it is a little smoother. But what I found is playing with a controller, I mean, to the point where I had to pull the mouse and use the mouse to do things. Because if the game will spawn multiple things layered on top of each other, and it can't, you know, do that. If you are going to talk to someone with a question mark over their head, in the buying time, don't do it in the last hour if you can't definitively get over to the end. Because if you can't and the store closes before you can direct them, um, you'll get locked with that little sonar thing at the bottom, and you won't be able to do anything. So I had to close out and restart. Um, the other issue with that was I'm not a huge fan of the fact that you hit 6 o'clock and the store just closes, like, or 4 o'clock and the store just closes. Because I think the issue with that is, if the store just closes at 4, like everyone who's just whatever they're doing, they just drop what they're doing and leave, even if they're in the middle of paying, even if they're in the middle of browsing for a book. Um, they just drop what they're doing and leave. Um, I would prefer if it was like you don't let more people in, but people in there can finish their transactions. That would be an interesting way to do it. I don't know if that's plausible, but that's how I would have done it. And I think too, it's like the thing with the question mark over the head is that I think there is a thing you can unlock to make it better. It's like a sign for inside your store. I did that and it did not have any impact. So I don't know if that maybe it's a glitch. Maybe I just didn't do something right with it, but it didn't have a definitive impact. Um, but I think that there's a certain positivity to this game that I think is kind of infectious and I think it's kind of fun. The uh, the people you're encountering are people who are trying to get their lives on track, and you are kind of just the person there who's gonna talk them through it and help them through it. And as you go, you do that. Um, I also noticed too, and I think this could be an indication of another feature coming down the line, that every character will have a smile over their head if you help them out, or if they find the book they're looking for, or whatever. They will have a smile over their head. Since there are only 5 recurring characters and none of them will shop in the store, I'm not entirely sure what that's for because it's not like there's a marketing scale or a reviewer scale or a Yelp score or something like that where that could be impacted. Um, and I think it's one of those things where it's like the the amount of people who go in and leave without buying something, but without telling you why they didn't buy, is kind of annoying too. Because like it's one thing to be able to look at your books that you have in available for purchase, and then be like, okay, well we need to buy X, X, Y, and Z, sell a lot. But it's kind of like the survivor's bias from World War II, where it's like these books are being bought a lot. Is it just because we keep buying them and stocking them, or is it because the people who aren't buying them are leaving and not buying what they wanted to buy? And I don't know if that what the case is there. Um, but I do enjoy the game. I did play this for quite a long time. I finished up the storylines with all the other characters, and I enjoyed my time thoroughly with it. I do think because it's still early in development, I think there's still room for improvement. They're not early in development, but it's still early after the release, and they've only had a 1.1 update out so far. I think there is room for improvement, and I have the feeling that there will be more coming down the line. Like I said, there are indications that there could be expansions, not DLC expansions per se, but expansions in what's being offered in like what's in the base game. Maybe this is the case. We could be in a Stardew Valley situation, and I feel like I said this a lot, where it's like, let's see if this game gets a lot of support after release. But I did really enjoy this. I would recommend checking it out. It's relatively cheap. I think it's like $7 on Steam. Um, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's a lot of fun. And it's if you like that shopkeeper experience, this is the game for you. And we'll wrap up there for today. Next week, we're going to talk about another indie game, Merchant 64, from developer Suit and Tie, which came out March 31st. But until then, have a great rest of your week.